ट्राइपॉड वगैरह लेकर
Hello. 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 You. Hello. Sorry for being late. There was no traffic.
Please follow us.
Here you have the Prime Minister.
Yes.
What means HC? Hindu
Hindu
College.
College.
Hindu College. I should have realized myself. So, thank you so much.
Celebrating our 125 anniversary.
Yeah, sure. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Sir.
Hello, welcome. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm very good. Good to see you. Hi, we know each other.
Yeah, I was
We met in
in
Berlin
Berlin.
3 weeks ago.
Anyway, this is all like religion is one
Was just this.
Yeah, very good. So how long have you been here?
I came in on Monday, so this is my third day. Yeah. And it's, of course, it's a very good addition to the visit that we had to the delegation that you were part of. And I think a lot of topics that we discussed in Berlin, we can now kind of mirror here with the discussions with the Indian partners of the Konrad-Adenauer office. So a stronger connection, building a stronger bridge is really at the center, I think, of the endeavor.
So you are already in, I must brief you about this. So this is perhaps the oldest college of the University of Delhi. In fact, older than the University of Delhi, because the Delhi University was established in 1922, whereas this college and the school, we call it school, we call it a college, opposite the road, was established in 1898, and this was done in 1899. And so these are the two rivals. It's always good to speak when the results are in your favor. So this is perhaps India's best college by the India Today ranking. And if you go by the rankings of the government of India, then it's the second best college. Now, what we do is we say, okay, even if you go by the second best thing, then it's the best among the co-ed colleges. Because the best by the government of India ranking is a girls' college from Bangladesh. So you are in one of the supposedly elite institutions here. We may not be that good as faculty members, but the students here, particularly in my department, they are included only if they have 100% at their board levels. Those who score 100% are the ones who come here. And, so therefore we have the finest of the students who do political science in this country. And so the good part of it is, of course, in terms of percentage, it may not but only few would get selected because it's very tough and I think most of them now with the think tanks coming up all around, so most of them also go to think tanks, some will go to design. So you have to get access to placements and you have companies and other media organizations coming in with no able to do that. So as far as we are concerned and some other good colleges are concerned, the students end up taking place, but that may not be true of other institutions where people take place. Feeling the delusion?
I was prepared to feel it, but I don't feel it that much, to be honest. So I get it a little bit, but so far nothing too concerning. But I also understand that 3 weeks ago, it was kind of triple.
The two. You okay? Scared because all of a sudden everything was done and then the university gave us holiday. Luckily, the university opened back on the 20th. So this is the second working day. So, and people at home. That's how it is.
The last sentence reveals it would be possible to drive even in England, then I didn't run without accident. But then I came back to Germany and I did it. I follow.
No.
You know the way.
So, you want to take the stairs?
Is it how much of it?
This is just one.
That's one. In memory of
Yes, this is one of the ex-students, former student, who gifted this entire building in the memory of Haack.
very good. Good.
So this is one of the newest addition to our yes.
You are also young.
Yeah, there are.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Department of Political Science warmly welcomes you today for a riveting session on preserving democratic values. Former President of European Parliament, Dr. Adrian Haack, Director of Konrad-Adenauer Stiftung in New Delhi, Mr. Christian Ekle, Head Asia Pacific, KAS. The convener for today's event is Dr. Chandrachur Singh, to whom I would like to express my most sincere gratitude. I would also like to thank our Honorable Principal Ma'am for her constant support for all our interviewers.
We at the Department of Political Science, Hindu College, are honored to conduct this session in collaboration with the Konrad-Adenauer Stiftung. The Konrad-Adenauer Foundation is a German political party foundation affiliated to the Christian Democratic Union and an independent think tank. Globally, KAS has 78 offices and runs programs in over 100 countries. They stand for the promotion of freedom and liberty, peace and justice, and are committed to furthering European unification, improving transatlantic relations, and deepening development cooperation. With the dual aims of providing the citizens of Europe with a basis for political action through research and analysis, and the promotion of European and international cooperation, they have been making great strides in the realm of political thought. Dr. Haack, we look forward to many such collaborations in the near future with the Konrad-Adenauer Foundation.
Shubham karoti kalyanam arogyam dhan sampada shatru buddhi vinashaya deepa jyotir namostute.
Before we begin anything auspicious, we always light the sacred lamp. I would like to request our esteemed guests, Professor Dr. Hans-Gert Pöttering, Mr. Adrian Haack, Mr. Christian Ekle, and Dr. Chandrachur Singh, Associate Professor, Department of Political Science, Hindu College, to please come on the stage for the lamp lighting ceremony.
suggested that today we live in a world which is volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous. Given this capriciousness, there is a tendency for one to suppose that the delays inherent in the democratic process ought to be repudiated in favor of alternate political frameworks. However, in negation of such cynicism, a popular aphorism asserts that democracy is indeed the worst form of government, except it is still better than all other forms of government that have been tried. Some of the earliest democratic polities were born in Europe and India. Even in the 21st century, we find ourselves on the same page with regard to the significance of democratic ideas in international politics.
As the world today faces recurring threats to the ideas of sovereignty, territorial integrity, individual liberty, and basic humanism, we have come today in this session to remind and reassert our collective stance regarding the indispensability of upholding democratic ethos in the current world order. Hence, in light of our shared desire to uphold democratic values in international relations, we have convened here today to discuss the current threats, challenges, and developments within the international order, which are not only important but common to the European Union and the Republic of India.
Today we are privileged to have with us Professor Dr. Hans-Gert Pöttering, who has served as a member of European Parliament continuously since the first elections in 1979 until 2014 and was the chairman of European People's Party Group from the year 1999 to 2007. When he stepped down in the year 2014, he was the European Parliament's longest serving member.
Dr. Adrian Haack is the director of the Konrad-Adenauer Foundation in New Delhi. Dr. Haack has served in a battle tank unit in the 1st Division and is an officer in the Navy Reserve Forces. Dr. Chandrachur Singh is an associate professor in the Department of Political Science, Hindu College.
Moving ahead with today's session, I would like to invite our esteemed guests of the day, Professor Dr. Hans-Gert Pöttering, Dr. Adrian Haack and Dr. Chandrachur Singh to please come on the stage.
Now, I would like to request Dr. Chandrachur Singh to felicitate our esteemed guest of the day, Professor Hans-Gert Pöttering and Dr. Adrian Haack. Now, I would like to hand over the dais. Now I would like to hand over the dais to Dr. Chandrachur Singh to initiate the proceedings.
Thank you, Milind. Professor Pöttering, Dr. Kristen Eckley, my friend Adrian, distinguished colleagues from the CAS office, and dear students. It's a source of immense delight to extend a very warm welcome to all of you in attendance today. While the primary objective of this prestigious gathering is to engage in thoughtful discussions pertaining to Indo-EU relations, we are fortunate to have the esteemed presence of Professor Pöttering, the former President of European Parliament, who will enlighten us on this matter. Additionally, I am equally happy to witness the near fruition, I'll not say fruition, but the near fruition of endeavors that we in the Department of Political Science at this Hindu college started or initiated some 5-6 years back. The efforts, the outreach related efforts with having associations with think tanks, with media organizations, with political parties, just to ensure that the students get first-hand experience of what it is to be in political life in a very lived kind of a context. I'm not going to talk about what we've done in the past, but our association with CAS is also a very strong step in that direction. May I take this opportunity to humbly inform our esteemed guests that the Department of Political Science at Hindu College is highly sought after, or rather renowned for its involvement in the process of conducting qualitative teaching, research, and learning in political and policy studies in the country. Hindu College itself predates the University of Delhi and is ranked as the best college in India according to one metrics and the second best according to the rankings conducted by the Ministry of Education, Government of India. I express my gratitude to Dr. Adrian Haack for providing us with the opportunity to host such distinguished individuals, and I am confident that our partnership with CAS will continue to flourish, leading to further achievements in credible research and repute. Coming back to the theme of deliberations today, it is pertinent to say that the association between India and the European Union is characterized by a convergence of strategic interests and a shared belief in the values of humanism, democracy, welfare, and rule of law. India, with its population of 1.4 billion, represents an economy of scale, while the EU represents an economy of skill. Consequently, it is only logical for these two countries, these two systems or influential entities to collaborate. Moreover, a notable aspect of this relationship is the mutuality of interest rooted in skepticism towards China's assertiveness, or rather belligerence, particularly in the Indo-Pacific region. This skepticism necessitates a balance to be struck in order to foster a genuinely pluralistic and multipolar world in general and in Asia in particular. In recent times, there has been a notable progress in the relationship between India and European Union, and particularly in response to the concept and necessity of de-risking as advocated by the President of EU, Ursula von der Leyen, primarily in the context of China. The policy framework presented by the EU President are expected to contribute significantly to the reinforcement of the Indo-EU relations. During my recent trip to Berlin, where I engaged with colleagues, diplomats, and politicians, I could readily perceive their cordiality and optimism towards India. It is true that we hold divergent views on certain contentious matters, yet I firmly endorse the traditional understanding of functionalism in international theory, which the EU itself has exemplified to a great extent. And that basically is about building small piecemeal initiatives So you call it piece by piece. This is what I said to Christian when we were on dinner once, when I said, let's have peace, but not in whole, but maybe by piece by piece. I'm not here to give you a long lecture, and I believe that the students already know that I give boring lectures. But I do believe that dealing with China is a contentious issue from our own standpoint. This is because China is not only our major trading partner, but also poses the most significant strategic challenge for us. It is evident that the European policy towards China is currently undergoing a clear evolution. While we should ensure that we should stay informed about these developments, both the European Union and India would benefit from strengthening their relationship based on shared values such as democracy and rule of law. One practical way to achieve this is by adopting a soft power approach and focusing on educational collaborations. It is worth noting that Germany currently has a large number of Indian students, and it is my hope that in the days to come we'll soon welcome a considerable number of German students to our country as well. Thank you, and I now invite Dr. Adrian Haack to say a few words before we hand it over to Dr. Pöttering.
Dear students, thank you very much for welcoming us here today. It is only my second time here at Hindu College, but I already feel home because I see many familiar faces, and I know many of you from other programs. So I'm very happy that we can be here today. And first of all, I have to say, you are all very lucky that he's your professor. Because now let me explain why. I'm just not randomly giving him flowers. I will explain why. Because I still feel very young, and I can remember back in the days when I was doing my bachelor's in political science and international relations, and I had a lot of professors who were very comfortable in being professors, and they were teaching us about subjects which they only knew from books. But we just recently have been in Berlin, and we had talks in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Germany, Ministry for Development, Ministry for Economic Cooperation. We met 6 members of parliament, members of state parliament. We visited the most important think tanks in Germany. And we discussed, of course, various topics: Indo-German relations, China, Taiwan, Middle East, Ukraine, trade, security, human development, climate change. So we covered a lot. It was a very packed week. So you have the luck that he can tell you firsthand what the decision maker in Germany say about these topics. Because it's one thing to learn about the subject from a book. That is, of course, the academic day-to-day life. But in addition to that, you need kind of the personal experience. You need the personal experience. And I had one professor who was a little bit different, and who also, let's say, walked the extra mile to offer us students an additional program to our schedule. And it was in the year 2011 when we had an Indian MP at our university who talked about several topics regarding India. And I have to admit, before that, I had very little knowledge about India. I knew, of course, India is there, but I could not say a lot about India's international politics or domestic politics. So I was a very white sheet of paper, but after this guest lecture, I started interesting. And that was a very personal experience of mine, and maybe today is also the chance for you to start to get interested on European Union. Because European Union is a very unique structure. You cannot really compare it with anything else which existed before. And it is actually a break of Europe's history of having war with each other. European Union is a project of peace, it's a project of tolerance and a project of hope. And it is, of course, a project which is way older than myself. And I remember when I started to become aware about politics and the existing of Europe, of European integration. You, Dr. Pöttering, you were already in Parliament for several years. So it was mentioned you are the longest serving member of Parliament. You were for many years head of the biggest parliamentary group in that Parliament, and you was also president of the Parliament. So actually, I think it's not brave to say you're maybe one of the persons right now on the globe who knows the most about Europe, or at least experienced the most of it by yourself. So with many things which are kind of the younger history for myself and of course also for you, you were the decision maker on that time. So therefore I'm very glad that you found the time to come to India, come to Hindu College, and I would ask all the students to take the opportunity to ask a lot of questions. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much, Professor. As you like, you are the boss here. Okay, Professor Singh, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, dear students, thank you very much for the warm welcome. And I must say, Professor Singh, it's the first time in my life that I get a present before I have spoken. This is very unique. So if I disappoint you now, the present I got. So I thank you very much for that. And looking at your intelligent faces, I am sure that Hindu College is the best college in India. So it's a great privilege for us, for Adrian, Haack and Christian Echle and the delegation from the Konrad-Adenauer Foundation to be here with you today. If I look at you, you could be my children, some even my grandchildren. And my grandchildren are 14, 12 and 7. And so it's a great privilege to be with you. When the very first parliament was elected in 1979, you all were not born. You might have been on the way, Professor. But I'm not sure. And being here today, I look to my watch. When I was a normal member of the European Parliament, I only had 2 or 3 minutes. But when I became chairman of the group or president, I was more or less free how long I would like to speak. But today I was told 10 minutes, something like that. Is that okay?
No, you go on.
I go on. Okay, so I don't want to be too long, so I try to concentrate, but I look to my watch that I'm not going beyond 10 minutes or so. You can be proud that you belong to this great nation of India. And I say it in the beginning, we have been, Adrian, Haack and myself, yesterday, the day before yesterday, and the day before yesterday, and the day before yesterday, in Dharamsala. And we saw His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. One might not agree what he believes, but he is a great person, and he had to leave Tibet because Communist China expelled him, and they occupied the country. And we should make clear that no power in the world has a right to suppress people, and we in a democracy like India, Germany, the European Union, we have to do everything to defend our human rights. And it was really for us, when we had this audience with the Dalai Lama, a great present for ourselves, because the Dalai Lama is a man of peace, of reconciliation, and he thanks your country that he can be here in exile. And he said he will stay in India for the end of his life. But I think it's our duty to defend the human rights of the Tibetans. And we got to know by the parliamentarians we met in Dharamsala, parliamentarians in exile, Tibetan parliamentarians, that the communists in China took away from the parents about 1 million children, beginning at the age of 6 years, and they sent them to Chinese school so that they don't learn the Tibetan identity. And I think this is what the exile parliamentarians called us, cultural genocide. And we should not allow any country in the world to commit cultural genocide, and we must be outspoken to defend human rights. So, dear students, and now I would like to speak a little bit about the European Union. And you may allow me to make a very personal remark. I am 78 years old. I was born in September 1945. And the Second World War finished, at least in Europe. Here in Asia it was a little bit later because of Japan. The war finished the 8th of May 1945. So I was not yet born. But my father, and I'm very open now to you, it's very personal, my father was a very simple soldier in the Second World War, and he was killed in February 1945. So I never got to know him. And recently I found his last letter, which he wrote to my mother. She died in 2001, and for a long time I had not looked into those letters. And I found his last letter, and he got to know that I should be born somewhere, and he referred to my 3 years older brother and to myself as well. Why I'm telling you this personal story? Because this psychologically, I think, was a reason that when I grew up and had a political conscience, I tried and began to be involved in European politics. And like Dr. Haack has said, European integration is about peace. And so I had the chance to be elected in 1979 as the youngest member of the Christian Democrats to the European Parliament. Although I was much older than you are, I was already 32 years old. But for me it was like entering paradise when for the first time I entered the European Parliament in Strasbourg. And you may know the Parliament is meeting in Strasbourg and in Brussels. At that time, mainly in Strasbourg. And I was, in the beginning, a backbencher. My name begins with a P, so you are quite far away from the center. And I want to tell you, you are in the last row. One day you will be in the first row if you want. I wish you good success. And so I was asked in the European election in '79, why do you want to become a member of the European Parliament? You have nothing to say in Brussels and in Strasbourg. And it was almost true. There was a parliament before, but they were delegates from the national parliaments, not direct elected members. And my answer was, we will fight peacefully to get our rights. And today the European Parliament is an equal partner in legislation with the 27 member states of the European Union, except taxes and some questions concerning money. That's always difficult when you speak about money. Then the nation states want to have the main say. But we, as European Parliament, are, even when we spend money, an equal partner as far as the budget is concerned, each budget for each year, and we have a period of 7 years, a so-called financial perspective. And I had it not in mind when I started my speech, but I say it now looking into your faces. We have an Erasmus program in the European Union for exchange of students and Erasmus Mundus, that means for the whole world. And I was engaged in that for this period 2007-2013. And the governments wanted to reduce the budget for Erasmus by 3 billion euros. And my group, which I chaired, opposed. And the Socialists opposed, the Greens, the Liberals. And so finally we got an agreement with the 27 member states, that means the Council. The Council are the member states, and we, the European Parliament, and we got the money back. And I think this is important, that we fight for the young generation and that we do everything that young people, women and men, students, that they come together from different countries so that they learn from each other. And when you learn from each other, you will reduce the prejudices and you will find ways to communicate, and this means that there is peace. So my second remark is, I experienced the great change in Europe in the 80s. When the European Parliament for the first time was elected, we only had 6 member states. Then we extended it to 7, 9, 10, and now it's 27. And today, the eastern countries of the European Union, which is Central Europe, like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Slovenia, they became member of the European Union in 2004. And why was it possible that they became a member? In 1979, they were part of the communist world. They were suppressed by the communists in Moscow, by the country which now attacked Ukraine because Russia does not want that Ukraine has a democratic development. When Ukraine has a democratic development, one day Russia will have a democratic development as well. And the state and this dictator, Putin in the Kremlin, does not want a democratic development in Russia because he wants to remain a dictator. And so, while we are supportive to Ukraine, that Putin and Russia do not win this war. So there was this great change. Communism fell in Poland and all the other countries I mentioned. And this would have been unthinkable in 1979. And this development in Europe shows us, teaches us, that everything is possible in politics if, and this is a precondition, the people believe in liberty, in freedom. And this is my advice to you, to always defend the human rights, to always defend the freedom of your country, because the freedom of your country is the freedom of yourself. So I want to encourage you to do this in your future life. And so I think we have to do everything that our society is based on values. And we visited this morning your parliament, the old parliament, the new parliament, and I saw a phrase that the dignity of each human being has to be accepted. And of course, sometimes it's very difficult to realize the dignity if they are poor, if they have no education. But the principle must be accepted, because all human beings are equal. And this is a difference with the communists, or with the National Socialists. It was a totalitarian state in Germany as well in the 30s and in the beginning of the 40s, and they started war and so on. They did not believe in the individual. They believed in the collective. And if you believe in the collective, in an ideology, then everything is justified. Then you can kill people and you have not to follow a legal system. And this is totalitarianism and this is communism. And we should not allow communism in India or in the European Union. And the European Union is peace. And when we have war now in Europe, it's not in the European Union. We never have had war in the European Union or in the States, which started the unification process of Europe. The war is outside the European Union. And because Russia is not part of the European Union, Ukraine is not yet part of the European Union. One day, hopefully, it will be once the war is over. So, the European Union, the European integration is a concept of peace. But peace has a sister, and the sister is freedom. So, peace and freedom always have to go together. And my last remark is, and I'm looking forward to have a discussion, I think those countries in the world who have a democracy, and you can be proud to have a democracy, and I saw the statue of Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal, Pandit Nehru and many others. They built, together with your parents and your grandparents and others, they built this great nation. And I think it's our duty for the future, the European Union, including my country, Germany, India, Japan, Australia, all those countries who are free countries, that we come together and that we know we have the same values, the dignity of the human being, freedom, human rights, democracy, peace and a legal order. And legal order is so important because once you have a legal order in a country, everyone, the politicians, the billionaires, everyone has to follow the legal system. In a totalitarian system, the governments, the dictators, they make the law and they have not to follow the law which is made by the people. So a legal construction of a country is of greatest importance. And so the democratic countries should come together and defend our freedom and our independence. And I think this is a great challenge for our generation, for your generation, and you are the generation of the 21st century. It's depending on you as well, not only on the politicians and the people who run the economy and so on. It depends on you. And some of you might become a politician as well. And I want to encourage you to be engaged in the society, to be engaged in politics, so that you can decide about your own future. So I think this is the message I want to give you, and it's a great present for me to have the chance to speak to you, and I wish you well for your future families, those who want to have a family. And it's great to live in India, and it's great to live in a democracy, it's great to live in freedom, but we have to defend it. Thank you so much.
So, friends, we'll have this question answer session. Keep your questions brief, and your question should focus purely and primarily on India. That's the question. How do you think this whole policy of de-risking is shaping up in Europe? Is it really taking up? Or is it a work in progress?
Concerning China.
Yeah. So is it a work in progress or is it really shaping up?
We collect perhaps
So you can take this.
Yeah, okay. If I understood your question correctly, I think China is not only a challenge for us, China is a threat. I mentioned the experience of the dialogue between India and China. You know it better than myself. Then there was an agreement between the People's Republic of China and Great Britain concerning Hong Kong. And the substance of this agreement was 2 systems, 1 country, 1 state. And the system of democracy for Hong Kong was guaranteed for 50 years. So it should have gone on until 2048. And the communists broke it. So this shows us how the situation is. And I spoke about the young children from Tibet, and in Xinjiang, the Muslims living in Xinjiang are suppressed as well. And China is supporting Russia in its war against Ukraine. And so this means China is part of this war against the people in Ukraine. So all this behavior shows that we must be very careful. And I say as a German and a European, China is there. We have to deal with them. You have your trade relations, we have our trade relations, but we should not depend on them. For instance, as new technology is concerned, Huawei and all the information systems, I'm not so much aware, I'm too old to know all this, but you are aware about all the new technologies, TikTok and whatsoever exists. We should not allow the Chinese to control our information system. And so we have to be very careful. So we need a double construction. To be careful, but on the other side, where we can cooperate. And I think it's very important to see how China, what their capabilities are. Estimate a country, it's a danger as well, because you might be tempted not to prepare yourself to defend yourself. So I think we need the right balance, and there we should work together, India, the European Union, Germany and all the other countries, and Japan and so on. So let's be aware, let's cooperate where it's possible, but we should only do things which make it possible that our freedom here in India or in Europe is defended, and we have to make an effort to have a guarantee that our freedom will continue.
Take the mic, stand up.
Hello. Good evening, sirs. Thank you for that enlightening session. My question is, given the recent crisis at Gaza, which represents an affront to democratic values and more importantly to basic humanity in itself, can you throw some light on the prevailing European sentiment to this crisis and how this event has started to affect and will be affecting EU-India relations? Thank you.
Okay, if I understood the question correctly, you speak about Gaza and what happens there. I made a speech before the Knesset, the Parliament of Israel, the 30th of May 2007. And it was the greatest challenge as far as speeches are concerned in my life. It was a most difficult speech. And I will come in a second what I said there, because it's still valid today. Hamas, this terrorist organization, as you all know, has killed 1,400 innocent people. And this shows what a terrorist organization this Hamas is. And Israel has all right to defend itself. And it always should be this self-defense in the framework of the international law. So you have to try not to kill civilians and so on. But in practice, it's very, very difficult. And I think the person who has the right stand in this, the right opinion, how he expressed himself, is President Joe Biden from the United States of America and Foreign Minister Blinken, because they asked the Israeli government to realize that they don't overreact. I don't say that they overreact, but it's always necessary that you don't overreact. And President Biden has said the United States, when there was 9/11 in September 2001, that's correct? In 2001, they overreacted, and one always should learn from history. And it always has been my belief, and I'm coming back now to my speech before the Knesset, and I said a Palestinian mother cries when a husband is died or is killed or a son is killed. She cries like an Israeli mother cries when the husband is killed or a son is killed or daughter is killed. And so, for me, all human beings are equal. The Palestinians, the Jews, the Muslims, if they are peaceful. If they are not peaceful, it's something else. But a peaceful Muslim, and I say it as a Christian, I prefer a peaceful Muslim to a violent Christian. So it's important that we accept a peaceful dialogue. And I always was advocating a two-state solution for the Middle East. A state in safety for Israel and a state in safety for the Palestinians. And I know how difficult this is, but we have to come back to the discussion that the Palestinians get their own state. And I think this is an effort we should make together, India, other countries and the European Union, that everybody in the Middle East can live in safety and have a dignified life as a human being, because all human beings are equal. It was announced. Can you give us the information, because I'm always traveling and today.
Journalist who can obviously but as far as the news coming in, the External Affairs Minister has already stated that India stands for a safe, two states, a safe, secure Israel and a safe and secure Palestine. So I wonder, did you meet the External Affairs Minister before coming here or no? So which means we think alike.
Very good. This is a good message. Thank you. Okay.
Good evening, sir. My name is Chandrachur and I am from Political Science Department of Hindu College. So, as you talked about democratic values and we should preserve it, so sir, can you elaborate on specific instances or policies where the EU and India have collaborated to uphold democratic values, and conversely, any areas where concerns about a decline in these values may be justified? These democratic values are justified.
I think, if I understood it correctly, we need an ongoing dialogue between India, Germany, the European Union, and identify areas in the world where human rights are not accepted and where they are violated. And I would like to see India even be more active. Everybody speaks about China, unfortunately not about India, but it might maybe good because you are a country which is not aggressive and you are more or less peaceful people, and so it has an advantage if they don't always speak about India. But I would like to see India be more active in international politics to defend human rights. And you would deserve a seat in the Security Council of the United Nations. China has a seat there. You have a population of 1 billion human beings. You are #1 now, and the Chinese have a seat there and you don't have a seat there. And I think we should make an effort to identify you as representatives, as State of India and the European Union and Germany, identify where human rights are violated. And when you join this, then we are more powerful as without you. So I encourage you to be even more active as far as these questions are concerned.
Greetings to Professor Pöttering and Dr. Adrian Haack. Welcome to Hindu College. My name is Hans-Gert. I'm from Political Science Department of Hindu College. So my question pertains to Professor Pöttering. So as we have seen that during the COVID-19 pandemic, how unreliable our supply chains were, and in fact are today as well. And Thereafter, we saw some diversifications from China to economies like India and Vietnam. But on the other hand, if we see today, China is still among the top trading partners of both the EU and India. So my question is, does EU sees India as a counter to China, especially when the EU-India Free Trade Agreement has been still pending even after 6 rounds of negotiations? Thank you, sir.
You are a very decisive partner in the world. And we should listen to you because you have your experience with China. And we in Germany made a big mistake, and I'm now a little bit critical with my own country, even with my own party. We should have listened, as far as Russia is concerned, to the people and to the government in Poland, although the outgoing government in Poland was quite a complicated one. But we should, as far as Russia is concerned, we should have listened to Poland and the Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, because they always knew how Putin is, that he is a dictator. And we thought, no, it's not so bad, and let's have good relations, and we get the gas, the pipeline, and so on. So we made our mistake. Now we are learning after the aggression of Russia against Ukraine. So we didn't listen to our partners in the European Union, to the countries I just mentioned. And so we should learn, as far as China is concerned, from India, because you know India better, China better than we, and that's why I am promoting or encouraging our countries and the European Union to have a deeper and stronger dialogue. And I think especially the German-Indian relation should be more visible. And so we should make an effort, and I'm very sorry that this free trade agreement has not been reached, but we should do everything that we get it. I hope I answered more or less your question. Or do you want to add something?
Greetings, sir. My name is Hans-Gert. So the basic feature of a democracy is freedom, human rights. And at present, the gravest violation of human rights is in the form of environmental damage that's happening. So what is the take of European Union and the developed world at large? Because we know that the environment targets are not being met and they're lagging behind. Even today, I read in the newspaper that we need to reduce the carbon emissions by 9% per year. That is not happening. In COVID year, when the world was shut down, then also it was just 4.7%. So how the developed world will help the developing world, because we have other challenges as well. We have to tackle our poverty, we have to develop, we have to do many things from social domain and all. So we need this support of developed world. So how will EU help India at large? Because we are a country of 1.5 billion people and we as humans need coordination. Thank you, sir.
This is a very important question. And the answer is very difficult. So if we in Europe, in the European Union, tell other countries, India or other countries, in Africa or wheresoever, what they have to do, very easily the answer is, this is a second colonialism. And we have to be very careful that we don't give the impression that we go back to the past and repeat the mistakes European countries have made. And as far the fight against climate change is concerned, although I am not an expert in this question, the first European legislation was signed, and this was the 23rd of April 2009, in the European Parliament in Strasbourg, by the Czech representative. The Czechs had the presidency in the European Union, and by the President of the European Parliament at that time, who is sitting here now. And the formula was, as 2009, reduction of CO2 by 20%, renewable energy 20%, and there was a third factor, CO2 reduction, renewable energy, and reduction of energy, reduction of energy, and all this until 2020. And then we went further, and now in the framework of G20 and even beyond that, we always try to find an agreement with other countries like India as well. And Adrian Haack just tells me that India gets 1 billion for green hydrogen energy. Okay, 1 billion. So I think this is already something, and we should discuss together how we find a solution in the fight against climate change. So difficult it is, but we see everywhere in the world that there is climate change. And we saw the Himalaya in Dharamsala, and the people there told us the snow becomes less and less and less, so it's 5 minutes to 12, and you are right, we should do more together.
So just to add to what Adrian said, the green hydrogen project in India, particularly this month itself, the first system has started somewhere in Haryana, and I think the technology transfer and it's just the talks on technology transfer is going on between Germany and India. And I think, as Adrian said, the initial funding bit is also coming from there. And it's just maybe if you guys are here around, on the 28th, the Honorable Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas will be in the college. And he would also be detailing on all the kind of things that are happening here. So it's not to say that, so on that front at least, I can see a lot of tangibles, a lot of deliverables, and so the movement is on. And that's basically because countries like ours have taken on the stand that we have not contributed to it, and yet we will do all that is required to resolve it. So you'll see that the Paris Climate Treaty, and after that, India's stand on climate change has been much appreciated, and the leadership is also being given due credit for that. So some certain movements are still there, but of course it's a long way to go. But as I said, it's slowly building up to that process.
Maybe just to specify, there's the German Development Bank, KfW, and this bank is investing $1 billion in India on green hydrogen technology each year. So it's a German state bank investing heavily in this technology, particularly here in India. And I don't think there's any other country where we do it on that high a scale.
So my name is Shivansh Kumar Raj in Parliament, wherein I interacted with Mr. Shombi Sharp. He's the UN resident here in India. I posed him a question about the global reordering taking place right now, and a principle. I'm an economic student, so a principal trade, a concept of principal trade has been going on. That countries will only trade with someone who share their principles. How does EU share India's vision of China and the dependence of critical minerals like molybdenum and other critical minerals that China has a monopoly over, and about the finance situation as well, that EU has been a great partner, but the main point of energy security remains a point. EU needs energy security, and so do we. What are the plans that EU and India will share together, and what will be the future for partnership and also relating to you, just a small question as well. What will be the future of India and the youths in India and their opportunities in EU and vice versa? Thank you.
Or go, or she should go. If they are too long in the office, they don't work anymore. But it's a question which is of greatest importance for your future and our future. As far as China is concerned, and you say they have the minerals, I'm not against cooperating with China, but we should do everything that we are not dependent on one country, whether it's China or another country. And we Germans made the mistake that we were almost dependent, as far as gas is concerned, on Russia. And we have learned our lesson, and now we have our gas production or consumption we get from many countries, and we need a mix as far as energy is concerned. The German government, it was the government of my party as well, we abolished nuclear power, and I think it was a mistake. But we say it now that it was a mistake, because as far as the fight against climate change is concerned, nuclear energy is cleaner as using coal as an instrument for energy. But we have made this change, and I don't see this a mistake, and I don't see that Germany reverses its decision. The French, our neighbors, and France is very important, and the French-German relation and cooperation is very important. They depend on nuclear power, and rightly they do. And now we have an exchange system in the European Union. The French and others get energy from us once we have it, and vice versa. But the situation for Germany is quite difficult. But my political message is, as far as the outside world is concerned, outside the European Union, we should not be dependent on one country. And this is my advice to India as well. You should not be dependent on one country, so we have to multiply our resources. As far as the future of India is concerned, I'm not a prophet, but we should have a good exchange between the European Union, as such, Germany and India. And what I understand, if this is true, you have many well-educated people, young people like yourself, and you don't find a job in your country. And if you want to work in Germany or in other countries in the European Union, you are most welcome. But this should not lead to a situation that your abilities are not used in India anymore once you need it. But if you don't find a job in India, I think then morally it's justified that you find a job somewhere else in the world. But mainly and primarily you should serve your country. But you need to have the possibility to serve your country to get a job. So I think it's very necessary that we have a close cooperation between India and Germany, India and the European Union in all these questions, and find in the end very practical solutions.
Greetings, sir. My name is Jaya and I'm from the Political Science Department. So my question is, in maintaining cordial relationships with developing countries such as India, and if there are challenges, how they can be overcome? And my second part of my question is that what, according to you, are some further areas of cooperation between the EU and developing countries?
There is. I think our governments, your government, the government of Germany, and the European Commission, the European Parliament, the Parliament should identify subjects of cooperation. And normally the best way to find solution is to have free markets and not to close markets. If you close the markets, then you have not an exchange of people and goods and services and so on. So in principle, I believe in a free market. And that's why I'm in favor to get this free trade agreement between India and the European Union. And then in this framework, we should find a solution as well, as far as jobs are concerned, that young people from India work in the European Union and perhaps even vice versa. But for me, the most important thing is, and you can only find solution in these questions when we agree to our principles, to our values. And this is the dignity of the human being, democracy, legal order, freedom, and peace. And if we don't accept this, and if we don't agree on democratic principles, then it's very, very difficult to find an agreement. So the most important is to get an agreement what our values are, and once we find a solution for that, if there is a political will, there is a political way, but it depends on the acceptance of our values.
So I think we've had a large number of questions, and we can meet him later and talk about it. But one thing that I realized, while being on a delegation with Adrian, is that we already have a large number of Indian students in Germany, and I think Germany will be happy to accommodate you, provided you start learning the language a bit. It's not a very easy language to learn, but we are known for being tongue twisters, so we can learn that language as well if there's a will. And I think it's a fantastic language. I've already learned a word called Dankeschön, which means thank you. So Dankeschön to all of you, but before that, I'll hand it over to the anchors.
Thank you so much, Professor Pöttering. It was indeed an enriching and insightful session. Moving ahead, I would now request Dr. Chandrachur Singh to please felicitate our guest, Mr. Christian Eckley, Head Asia Pacific KAS. Now may I please request Mr. Christian Eckley to come on the stage.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights. It was indeed an enriching session. With this, we come to the end of this session. Now, I would like to invite Anthony Joseph, the President of Department of Political Science, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to stand before all of you today to present this vote of thanks. Preserving democratic values in international politics is a hot topic, but India-European Union relations, in the context of the same, especially when discussing the security concerns, make this concept even more intriguing. I truly believe that we all had a fruitful and an enlightening session on this topic. First and foremost, we extend our gratitude to our esteemed speaker for the session, Dr. Professor Hans-Gert Pöttering, the former President of the European Union, for taking out the time today and sharing with us his invaluable insights. Dr. Pöttering, we are incredibly grateful for your presence. Moving on, although we regret not having the presence of former Secretary General of the European Parliament, Mr. Klaus Welle, we believe that his participation would have been the cherry on the top of the cake. Thank you, Mr. Welle. A significant part of today's event is attributed to the Director of Konrad-Adenauer Stiftung, India Office, Dr. Adrian Haack. The department is deeply thankful for the outstanding collaboration we have ever experienced. Thank you, Dr. Haack. Also, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Christian Eckley, Head of Asia Pacific KAS, for gracing us with his insightful presence. Thank you for your invaluable contributions and inspiring. we can't overlook the substantial contribution of our dear Dr. Chandrachur Singh, our professor who organized and moderated this wonderful session for the entire DU circuit. A big round of applause for you, sir. Thanks a lot from the bottom of our hearts. And also I invite Ritika ma'am to please. Moreover, heartfelt thanks go to our dear TIC, Dr. Talim Akhtar, Professor Manisha Pandey, Professor Seema Das, Professor Jagdish Chandra, Professor Anrit Kumar, Kasturi ma'am, Ram sir, Jigyasa ma'am, Arunima ma'am, Bhavya ma'am, and our dear captain, Ritika ma'am. Your presence added immense value to the event and we appreciate your effort. We also want to express our gratitude to the entire team that has been working diligently for this session for a month. Department personnel and the students outside the college. Your efforts and presence are highly appreciated. Also, the cherry on the top of this engaging topic doesn't end here. We have arranged a high tea session at the old canteen. Please enjoy.
Just quickly, please remain seated until and unless you have filled out the folder that was supposed to be circulated. Once you have filled out that folder, you will receive your tokens and therefore you can move to the refreshment lawns. But just be patient for probably the next 5 minutes and then you can all have your...
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I joined the college when I was just 25 years as a teacher. That's my 23rd year of teaching.
Oh, yes.
But this profession gives me one additional advantage of interacting with the younger people.
Potsdam is also good. Yeah.
And the one that the masala house that we went to, it was fantastic.
You guys can have your seat.
Yeah. And I'm getting a small piece on possibility of humanitarian that's one, but that would be a not an institution. But you'll be okay. I mean, longevity is always.
अरे जल्दी आजा भक्के.
He should be in the 90s.
No, he will be 90 in 2 years. He's now 88. And he invited me. That's why I said 90 in 2 years, and if he's still alive.
भैया इधर हो जाना.
Okay.
Very soon, maybe for the dinner.
Oh, for the dinner. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
See you later. Yeah. It was great.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, so here we are.
The only college with a parliament headed, in the form of a student union. So when this college completed its 100th year, the Prime Minister came here. And the Prime Minister said that it's amazing, normally you have only one Prime Minister. On the dais we have two Prime Ministers. So she is the Prime Minister of the college.
Okay.
In the sense that she heads the
Your Excellency. Bye-bye.
And he has been the head of the European Union Parliament, so you are diplomats in that sense.
Okay, but you are superior. I have never had an executive responsibility. I always was parliamentarian, but you have an executive position.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye. All the best. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. I have to be I know you are saying. Bye-bye.